Welcome to Here's What I Learned, the show made for the curious. Every day offers you the chance to learn something new in life and in business. And on this show, we'll ask the questions and explore the answers to running an online business as a coach or online service provider. I'm Jackie Hayes, a launch planning consultant that helps business owners like you ask the important questions that lead to launches they love. Each week, you'll hear lessons learned by myself and other online business owners, answers to your questions, and we'll just get plain old curious. If you love to learn, have a curious mind, and are always full of questions, then you'll want to stick around and take a listen. So put in those earbuds, get your morning mile started, and enjoy the episode. I was going to record a podcast today about how there is no such thing as failed launches. And at some point I will be recording that content. I had it all mapped out, all planned, had my outline for the season, but I have decided that I am going to postpone that episode and do a little behind the scenes of my own current launch that is happening right now. And in fact, if you're listening to this on the day it is released, enrollment for that program, the Quarterly Launch Planning Collective, will be closing at the end of today, so 11:59 p.m. Today. So if you're curious and want to check it out, go to my website and you will find information about that. So it's jackiehayes.online. But back to the whole behind the scenes, a bit of a launch diary, as you could say. This all started way back in the summer when I was trying to figure out where to go with my business next. I knew I wanted to do some kind of course. I knew I wanted it to be about launch planning because that is what I focus my work on. And I was on a camping trip and I was hiking and I was letting my mind just dream and think and do whatever it wanted to do. And before I knew it, it had come out with this huge, elaborate, wonderful combination of my geekiness and my love of D&D and my love of mythology and the hero's journey and how I could create this amazing course or 6-week program for my offerings. I'm walking my dog, so the sound quality is not so great. And so I got to work on that program, Launch Your Way, and it was going to be a 6-week program, but you could also do it as a standalone course, and it was just like this whole ecosystem of different levels, and it went nowhere. Like, nobody was interested in it. I didn't even get to the point of like opening up enrollment simply because like there was no traction in any of the promotions that I was doing before opening enrollment. It was kind of crickets. And so I closed it down before enrollment even opened. And I just kind of sat with it for a while, and I had already started developing a lot of the materials, a lot of the lessons. And of course, I had the mindset of, well, I've put so much work into this, I can't just scrap it all. But in reality, like, I wasn't done developing it. I wasn't done putting it all together. And I could continue to spend all this time doing that and still have crickets. And so it would have been time that I could have put towards something that would be generating more revenue. So again, I sat back. I kind of just brainstormed, let ideas come to me, and thought about what it is that I really loved and about that offer. And one of it was just this whole, like, it wasn't just going to be a me talking at you situation. It was going to be like me sharing the information that I have learned over the years, and then workshopping as a group to find solutions for each of the participants. And it's in that workshopping that I just love that. And I feel like that's where my skills really shine, is it's kind of a combination of consulting and coaching, pulling out information from you, giving you my information that I know, and we come up with a solution together. And I also know that a lot of people have invested in courses and they never finish them. They don't even start them. Like 15% of people finish the courses that they buy online, and I am among those. And one of the reasons why is because it gets deprioritized. All these things have to get done in the business. There's things in my life I want to have time for outside of the business. And so it just feels like this course, I can get back to it anytime. So, why finish it? Because it's always there, and I'll find time later. And the thing is, we've invested in these courses because of the fact that we have a problem, and we think that this course is going to help us find a solution to that problem. And a lot of times that problem comes back to generating revenue. And so if we don't solve that problem, we probably won't solve the revenue issue that's attached to that problem. So it's in our best interest to actually finish the courses, whether it's for revenue or mindset or just not feeling so overwhelmed by all the things that we have to do in our business. And body doubling or coworking is a great way to get shit done. I have learned this. I know a lot of people rely on it. You don't even have to be working on the same thing together, but just having that accountability buddy, knowing that I'm going to focus on this, you're going to check back with me and see how I did at the end of our time, is just phenomenal at helping you do the thing that you say you want to do. And I feel like when everybody's working on the same thing-ish, it's even better, because then you can, again, workshop solutions, brainstorm ideas, come up with names for your offer because you're stuck and that's what's holding you back on everything. You can't work past that. Whatever it happens to be, if everybody is in launch planning mindset mode, then we're all kind of in that energy. So that's why I decided to come up with the Quarterly Launch Planning Collective. I feel like taking a moment at the start of each quarter and planning your launch for the next quarter is the best way to set you up for a spacious, less stressful, more intentional, more you launch, as Tracy would say, Tracy Stenger. And so to host kind of a mashup between a mini masterclass, so me sharing what I know in a very short, brief lesson, and then literally turning right around and implementing what you learned in the way that works for you, taking the tools, the resources, the templates that I have, and again, tweaking and making them work for you. But you're not like learning something and then 5 days later getting back to it. You're learning something and then you're turning right around and you're working on it, you're implementing it, and you have the person who created that and who has the knowledge handy because they're co-working right alongside you. I will be working on my own launch planning. And then your launch plan is making headway, and you've implemented these things that you've learned to have a better launch process for yourself. So that is why I came up with the Quarterly Launch Planning Collective. But I knew I didn't want to put a whole bunch of time, money, and resources into something that once again may not fit the needs or the desires of my best fit people. My best fit people talk often about what I do is so important and so helpful, but I haven't felt like I have found that thing right now in this economy that is the thing that that they're able and willing to invest in. They know that the work I do is important. They know the work that I do is helpful, but in the priority of things, they're not finding launch planning to be the thing to invest in or support for launch planning. Part of that is my own messaging for them to understand how helpful it can be. And then also some of that is just People have to decide where they're going to put their money, and I can't blame them if they decide it needs to go elsewhere. I don't know the inside of their businesses. I know that I have colleagues and friends that I would love to invest in their programs, but it's just I have to pay for other things first. So anyways, back to beta testing this. I decided I would offer it for a small group of people, max 10. All right, again, walking the dog, had to just stop in Starbucks to grab my chai because I forgot I was out of milk at home. And I can't start my days without a tea. Anyways, back to the whole, I've kind of lost my train of thought now. So beta testing. Let's see if what I have to offer in this format is something that people enjoy. And if it doesn't work, somewhere in gathering the feedback from the participants, I can refine what I am offering to become something that does work. Whether that is a short class, a free workshop, more collectives, just tools to purchase from my launch planning toolkit, whatever it happens to be. And I knew that I could take everything that I had started developing in Launch Your Way and refine that and tweak that and use in the collective. And of course, a lot of this is stuff that I have been using with my VIP day clients on a more intuitive level. And in the one-on-one back and forth exchange, I haven't needed to have like the worksheets and the templates ready for somebody else to use because I have it in my back end and we're using it through the VIP day. So I've had to make it more accessible for somebody else to use. So I sat down, I thought about what I wanted this collective to look like. I kind of gathered some information from folks who were on the interest list, the wait list, about like the timing of it. I knew that I wanted to keep it to 4 different like master classes, mini master classes with working sessions. And I could do that all in one day, which would have been probably easier for everybody to schedule, but also extremely exhausting. And I don't feel like by the time we got to the 3rd or 4th masterclass, like people would be getting as much out of it as they could. From my experience with the VIP days, we start at 10 a.m. Central and we finish up at 3:30 p.m. Central. We have an hour and a half break in the middle so that we can nap, rest, let our brain wander, whatever, rejuvenate ourselves so that we can go back into it. But come 3:30, we're tapped out, we're done. And in order to do this process with a group, I knew it was going to take, longer than a traditional VIP day. So I was wanting to do 90-minute sessions. If they're really going to then implement DIY on their own, what they're learning, they're going to need time to do that. And I wanted them also to have a chance to chat with each other, talk with each other, workshop with each other, etc. So what I landed on was 2 days, 3 hours each, sessions 1 and 2 on day 1, sessions 3 and 4 on day 2. And I then had to decide exactly what was going to happen in those sessions. I had kind of like this sort of idea of what I wanted, and I needed to be able to like finalize that in order to like write a sales page and tell you what you're going to be getting out of the collective. And all of that meant I had to be a little more like clear on what the collective was going to be. And at the same time, be very open to the fact that this is a beta test and be frank about like, this is what it is right now, but the next time I offer it, hopefully it's even better using your feedback. And so I can tell you what it is right now and what I intend it to be, but even partway through the collective, I may switch things up and say, hey, this I think needs to be added, or this isn't the right topic, let's do this instead based on your guys' feedback, what you're having the most issues with, was this lesson even necessary, etc. I like the word etc., obviously. And I had a wait list. I had, I think, 9 people on the wait list. My good goal for enrollment was 5. My better enrollment was 8. My best enrollment was 10, and I was going to cap it at 10 or 12 people. I have been promoting this in my podcast episodes. I have been promoting this on Instagram by doing like behind the scenes, as well as just like informational graphic style stories, talk at the camera style stories, and of course also in my email marketing. Mentioned it, honestly did not mention it very often because I prefer to talk with the wait list, give my general list an opportunity or two to get on the wait list. I'll put it in all my footers so that if they're interested and they're like, oh, wait a minute, where's that link? After the fact, they can find it in the footer of my emails. But for the most part, my whole list maybe gets 1 or 2 emails encouraging them to get on the wait list or then eventually buy once enrollment is open. So anyways, 9 people on the wait list, talking on Instagram, talking on my podcast episode, having a couple of people that I love and adore talk about it as well. And then I open doors for enrollment. And I was so incredibly excited that within 24 hours of opening those doors, I had reached my good goal of 5 people enrolled. And I personally know all 5 people. These are people who have expressed a desire to work with me, but I just had not found the right container yet for them, something that fit with their budget, their time, what they needed. Some are very experienced in launching, and so they're just needing a little extra help to make sure that, that there's not something that they're missing that could make their process even better. And then there's some who are, have maybe launched once or twice and kind of are in this. The last one was chaos. I learned my lessons mostly. I want to apply those, but I really would like support and help in doing so. But because of some of their first launches, I don't suggest doing a VIP day if you're on your first or second launch. VIP days are an investment, and if you don't have information, data from past launches, we're not going to get as much out of that VIP day as we could. So I always suggest that people have at least 3 quote-unquote successful launches under their belt before they schedule a VIP day. So back to that. Reached my good goal within 24 hours. Extremely excited. Wonderful group of people, all of whom's opinions and feedback and critiques I know will be extremely valuable. They also know me and my business. And so, often if you have a bunch of people who aren't necessarily your best fit and who don't really know your work, they're going to make suggestions that are just kind of way out in left field for you. You're never going to do that thing that they suggested. They may want that, but that's just not something you're going to do. It's either against your values, it's either against how you best show up, or you don't have the time for that, or you just don't have the interest in it. So these first group of people who had enrolled, was excited to see them. I did one of those, celebrating as each person enrolled posts or stories on Instagram. I had printed off a little piece of paper with my lovely comic book graphics to put people's names in every single time somebody enrolled. And I would take a picture and I would welcome the new person into the collective as a celebration for them for making the investment and me for filling up spots. And just acknowledging that people are welcome into the collective and that people are in the collective. And so you're not going to be there alone. There's going to be all these other great people in there. And I had someone else enroll within a couple of days, another great person. I had somebody else reach out who said, I really want to participate, but I'm not going to be able to make these live calls, these co-working sessions, which that's 6 hours of time that they're going to miss out on. Well, the tools and templates that I have in the collective are extremely valuable as well, but also could use some feedback from outside people using them who are not me. And I'm also going to be recording the co-working sessions for replays. And so I offer that person a deep discount to access all the resources, watch the replays, and give me her feedback from that. In case I want to just turn some of these resources into standalone offers and products that you can purchase for download or such. So I currently, at this moment in time when I'm recording this, which is the Saturday before this releases, I have 7 people enrolled in the program. I still have 2 people on the wait list now who haven't signed up. So I've actually, if you're doing some math though, I actually have people who were not on, 1 or 2 people who were not on the wait list who hopped over and purchased. So there's 2 people left on the wait list, 7 people have enrolled. So somebody hopped off the wait list at some point in time, which is fine. You're going to have opt-outs as things go. I know one of those individuals has expressed a desire to participate, but it's a budget thing right now. So even though, it is a kind of a very low price right now for the beta group, it's still an investment, and people have to decide that, and I completely respect her for prioritizing what she needs to prioritize. And there's a possibility that she could participate in a collective down the road, or there'd be some other way that we can work together, me supporting her launches. And there's also just maybe even the time commitment that she may just not be ready for that right now. Anyways, that means I am currently 1 person short of my better goal and 3 people short of my best goal. And I'm really excited about that. I know that I will not be able to continue to do $50, offerings quarterly for small groups and meet my revenue goals. But I'm also looking at this as a market research. In the intake form, I've been asking questions that help me understand better the words and emotions and experiences my best fit people have had when it comes to their first launches or their second launches. How can I help them not have those feelings again is extremely important, and having that wording for my marketing is extremely important if I feel like I'm equipped to help them overcome that. So it's marketing research for me too, to get a better judgment and idea of what it is that I should be moving forward with in my offerings beyond just the VIP day, because that hits only a certain type of person. And while I love my VIP days, and I love the people who invest in the VIP days and where they're at in their business, I want to be helpful to a broader range of people. And this offer will help me do that. And quite honestly, it was enough of a validation. I mean, they say you shouldn't worry about external validation, but when you run a business, you do need external validation of people actually paying for what you offer. And it was what I needed right now. I needed that. Yes, there are people who know I have something that is valuable, and they are willing to invest some of their money that is very precious right now in working with me and learning from me and getting my support in some way. So I'm extremely glad that I have decided to do this beta test of the Quarterly Launch Collective. What I'm not extremely glad of is that I took on 2 new retainer clients in the middle of this launch process, both of whom I'm extremely excited to be working with. The first one, I am now working with Pumpkin Plan Your Biz as their training support guide. So I will be supporting the strategists or would-be strategists as they work through their certification program. But that meant they were kind of in a place where they're like, oh, we need somebody on right now. They had somebody who had a change in life circumstances and wasn't going to be able to, continue working with them. And they had just hired her or just brought her on as a contractor. And now they were in the midst of getting ready for their own launch. And they needed somebody fast, and they needed that person up and running fast. And so this past month, I've had to just really dig into the material and get myself certified so that I could support the people who were going through the certification program. So there was that. And then I brought on my very first local kind of in-person brick and mortar client who runs an event center, who I was talking with him, and he's opening up this event center. He wanted it to be like a membership place. And so he was talking about, he was just going to look at his spreadsheet of members as people came to the door to purchase their ticket for admission for their different events. And it hurt my soul. It really, really did. And I mentioned Airtable, and he's 61. And not a tech person. And he's just like, I have no idea what this is. And then he said, I need to also have an email list. And things just kept going and going. And I was like, well, here's the thing. I'm going to want to come to all of your events. I'm not going to be able to afford the membership. I'm not going to be able to afford the admission to something every single weekend, and maybe even some things during the middle of the week. So how about I give you 10 hours of my time a month for a small base fee, free admission, free membership, and a small commission on the big Saturday nights events, which is what I'm helping out with the most. The very first one is tonight. So in 2 weeks, we had to have all this back end up and running for somebody who'd never had any kind of tech beyond a very, very basic WordPress site. And, just people paying with PayPal at the door when he was renting spaces. So bringing on those 2 clients and having to prioritize that, but also knowing that I had to develop everything for the collective has been a little stressful, and I'm a little behind. And I was supposed to have all the downloadable, I'm now in the elevator if you can't tell, all the downloadable materials available yesterday afternoon. And as of right now, I only have sessions 1 and 2 available and part of session 3. I'm not terribly worried. Again, it's a beta version. I'm doing the best I can. We're not going to be working on sessions 3 and 4 until the 19th. So they have what they need for session 1. So I'm good with that. I still feel a little like I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself, and I need to let go of that. And I'm going to spend some time today finishing up 3 and getting 4 ready. I was freaked out because I thought, oh crap, I also have to get a podcast ready for Monday. And hence why you're getting this lovely walking with my dog, going to Starbucks, getting ready to feed her back in the apartment podcast episode. But it is what it is. Here's my behind the scenes. You get a little peek as to what my life is like on a Saturday morning, as well as, my thought process in creating my launch planning collective. I will be doing a post-launch debrief post-mortem episode, probably after the last of the working sessions on the 19th, so I can talk about how the program actually went and the feedback that I got. But until next time, if you haven't signed up for the collective, you have until 11:59 to do so. That's 11:59 today, PM Central. And I really would love to see you in there. If you have any thoughts about this episode or want to share your own pivot launch stories, just send me a DM over on Instagram. It's JackieHayes_OBM. I would love to hear from you. And next week, we'll get back to the regularly planned content, and we'll be talking about there being no such thing as a failed launch, which, I guess this was a good transition into that topic. So I will see you next time. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to another episode of Here's What I Learned. You can find the show notes and transcripts at jackiehayes.online/podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to leave a review and follow the show. Be sure to find me on Instagram at JackieHayes_OBM and let me know what you learned from this episode. Catch you next time on Here's What I Learned.